Hey everyone, welcome to the Canine Culture Podcast, where we talk about everything dog. Q&As with veterinarian professionals, rescue operators, everyday topics. We cover everything dog on this podcast. So make sure you subscribe to the Canine Culture Podcast on your favorite podcast platform, and make sure you're following us on social media on both Instagram and Facebook. Thanks again for listening. Now here's that next episode. Hey everyone, welcome to the Canine Culture Podcast. This is your host, Brittany, and today we're joined by Fawn. We're going to talk about rescue dogs and everything that you might need to know for rescue dogs, because Fawn has two of them. So Fawn, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
So you have two rescue dogs, and tell us how you found and or rescued both of them and a little bit of like their backstory.
Okay. The first one was Huckleberry Finn. And he was at Bradford County, which is a high kill shelter. They put him down after 30 days. And I saw him come in on their some of their Facebook pages, and he just had the most beautiful eyes. He just caught me. And I was like, oh, I want to get him.
Mm-hmm.
And I was kind of in between places at the time, like about to move. So I was like, should I, right as I'm moving.
Right.
But it was like towards the end of his 30 days, and they were like, these are the ones that are going to be, put down.
Mm-hmm.
So I got really anxious, and I was like, oh, I have to go out there. And thankfully, Safe Animal Shelter came in and picked him up and a couple other dogs. So then he was safe, but he had bad skin issues at the time, mange and stuff. So they started putting him through treatment there, and that's where I went and picked him up. So I went out there, saw him, met him. He was a sick dog at the time, but I still wanted him. It didn't matter to me. And they said that they're like, a lot of people will look over him because he's got mange. And he actually had a limp at the time. He still limps a little bit sometimes, but I've got him on some stuff that's good for joints. But anyways, I picked him up from there and went through a lot of his medicated baths, and it was about 2 months of medication and him getting better from the mange. And he was a street dog, so he loved to go for the dumpster. He would try to get smashed gum on the ground. He'd pick up rocks, just anything he'd get in his mouth, because he was so used to scrounging for food for 6 months. He was about 6 months when I got him. So anyways, that was a very interesting time to know that he really survived, through a winter out on the street by himself. He's got a scar on his shoulder that the vet told me he probably got shot with a BB, because people will shoot at the stray dogs. So I think that's where the limp came from. So yeah, his backstory, I don't fully know where he came from, but I'm pretty sure he was out there for a good at least 4 of the 6 months himself, just living on the streets. So and then I got Romi. I found him in Riverside on my way to work one day. He was running around the park out there, and it was cold, rainy. It was like 30 degrees, and he had no collar, no leash, nobody with him. So on my lunch break, I'd never stopped thinking about him. It was 11:30. I was like, I got to take lunch. And so I jumped in my truck and I drove around the park, and he sure enough was still out there, and he ran across the road. A van almost hit him, and I pulled over basically in oncoming traffic and yelled out the window, and he heard me and he ran over to me, and I scooped him up and threw him in the truck and took him straight to Carolina Jack's actually, and got him some cheeseburger and some water. I was like, I don't know how long he's been out here, but he's probably starving. So, and he ate it. He was such a good little dog. But I took him into the ACPS, which was down the street, and he had a chip. So they scanned and they called and they emailed, and they were like, well, you can leave him here. And I just didn't want to leave him there in case nobody came for him. I didn't want him to be stuck there for, could be years.
Right.
So they were like, all right, you take him home, which I was not expecting to get another dog. But I did take him home because I didn't want him to be stuck there. And so for 3 days, basically, by day 3, I was pretty sure that no one was coming.
Right.
If it were my dog, I'd be day 1,
right,
an hour later. But,
yeah.
And his original name was Basil, but I didn't like the name. And so I called him Romi one day because I found him roaming in Riverside. And he parked up and looked at me, and I was like, okay, I guess you just chose your name. It was after that, that's what his name was. And so that's his story. I don't know where he came from. He was probably about 4 months when I got him. And he had some gashes on the top of his head. So I don't know if he had dug under and gotten out or if someone had hit him because he was a little more skittish than Huckleberry. So I don't know his full backstory, but I think he was probably born in the shelter is what I think, because he was chipped and neutered and he was only 4 months. So he probably lived with someone for 2 months and maybe they just didn't want him anymore, couldn't afford it or whatever it might be. But he's been the best dog. Like I had no issues with him at all. And I was like, I don't know why someone would shoot him out on the street, but I'm glad that he didn't get hit and he sought himself a home. So he's a good boy.
So your rescue dogs are a little bit different than sometimes it just happens and sometimes you plan for it, like you see them at a shelter and you kind of wait. And while you wait, you're like preparing or whatever it might be, or you see them at a rescue and you apply and you kind of get things together and you go through that process. So, in your case, you didn't really have time to like plan or do anything. We've rescued now 3 dogs, and our senior was our first dog that we rescued. She just turned 11. No one wanted a senior dog. So kind of the same with yours. It's like the dogs that no one wanted. She was the main mommy dog of a breeding operation and had never been pet, had never been held, had never been outside, wasn't potty trained, hated people. But she had the cutest little face and I wanted to give her the best home. So, we didn't really prepare for her. The rescue brought over a bed and they're like, here's the dog in the bed. And I'm like, okay, it's a senior. Does she like toys? She only has a couple of teeth. Like, does she like treats? Like, so we didn't get to prepare for her and it worked out fine. I'm not saying don't prepare. For Napoleon, he was on the euthanasia list for his bite record. Drove all the way to New Orleans to get him. He was a week away from euthanasia and, he's been a challenge. And then Odin was also the dog that no one wanted. He had been abused and he had been dumped. He'd been living on the streets for 6 weeks. A rescue came in, took him in, went to the vet, did all of the things. And there was just no interest. He wasn't like your traditional, like cuddly dog. He, again, didn't really like people. And so the rescue had reached out kind of like, hey, like, looks like a dog you'd want. So I was like, I'll foster, knowing that I can't foster because I fail. And so after a week, I was like, send me the paperwork. He's mine. So honestly, kind of the same as you, like we didn't prepare. I'd like to think that I'm type A enough that if I hadn't really thought these through, I would have gotten things. But I also had things already, like crates and dog beds and toys. And then the food, I don't know if you feel similarly about this. You kind of see like, what are they going to eat? That changes over time. So whenever you brought home Huckleberry, because you had a little bit of time, was there anything you bought in advance that was a must have or like a must, like you had to have it?
Yeah. I mean, for sure a crate.
Yeah.
No doubt about that. I never would bring a dog home without at least crate training them to begin with. And he obviously was a street dog, so he had no manners.
Right.
He loved to climb all over everything. He stunk to high heaven. So I didn't want him just roaming around the house. But I definitely started with the crate. I bought him his first toy. So he loved his little toy. I bought the same toy like 5 times. It was his favorite one from Target. It was a little ducky, and he was like, this is my favorite toy. He was so happy. But and then I bought a small bag of food because I wasn't sure.
Right.
Some of them have allergies and stuff like that. So I tend to stay away from chicken because I know a lot of dogs will have chicken allergies. I didn't know with him. And because he had the skin issue, I got some fish oil, and the vet had given me some medication. And then I ended up having to go out to I went out to Middleburg 3 times for this dog. But they gave me some medicated bath, some shampoo and stuff to use. So I went back out there, got that, but I did get some wet food because he was on the medication. So I knew like, I'm going to have to trick this dog for 2 months to take his pills, which can never be easy. But, and then actually he was eating good. And then, because at first he was really sick, so he was pretty mild. And then once he started feeling better, he got a little bit more, crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But at one point, he really didn't want to eat his food.
Mm-hmm.
So I would just go out and get whatever, like human food,
Right.
to get him to eat something.
Right.
And like, you haven't probably had a good meal in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And then I switched up his food to some salmon, because with the fish and stuff like that. So, and he's been fine on that ever since. He's liked that a lot. But yeah, I mean, I went and made sure I get the crate and the toys and the treats and collar and leash and all that kind of stuff. So,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, we have like 6 crates at our house at all times. So that's not something we've had to buy, but getting a crate, and what I've learned with our newest dog is if you get a puppy that's going to be big, you might be buying 3 or 4 crates. Maybe start with the big one. That's usually not what a trainer would suggest, but just like thinking about the financial aspect of it, I think a lot of people maybe want to do the right thing and they go to rescue a dog and they don't realize what they're getting themselves into financially. For you, you knew you had vet visits. You had to take him in for mange and all of his other issues. And so whenever you rescued him, was that a consideration of, okay, I'm going to have to financially commit, I don't know, a couple $100s, couple $1,000s in the first few months? Did that cross your mind whenever you rescued him?
Yeah, absolutely. I knew he was sick. I didn't know how bad it was or what potentially could be down the road. He had a limp, like I said, when I first got him, and I called the shelter and I was like, hey, he has a limp. I don't know what's going on. And they're like, oh, he probably just sprained it. It'll be fine.
Mm-hmm.
But then, time went on and it didn't get any better. And so I was like, wow, this, is my dog going to have to have surgery? My mind always, no matter what, I committed to this dog. I'm not going to throw him to the wolves. I'm not going to, leave him without the care that he needs,
right,
whatever it takes.
Right.
So I just found a cheaper vet to take him to get x-rays of his shoulder and stuff. And then I went to another vet and gave them the x-rays so they could, see what was going on. There's resources out there for sure. And you just have to research and dig as much as you can and get your community to help you however they can. People can offer assistance, or maybe there's a low cost vet or something like that. So yeah, I mean, he was sick. It was a lot of, like I said, medicated baths and a lot of washing stuff, and definitely more cost than maybe a healthy dog. But you never really know what could be down the road. Right. They could get cancer. They could break a bone. They could have dental issues. There's a lot of things that can come along, especially if they've lived on the streets or don't know their background. So yeah, you definitely have to plan for that financially, for sure.
And even the time commitment. I think you and I talked off air. Right now, we're seeing a lot of dogs dumped either for financial reasons, which is understandable, but also people should just know up front, they're not cheap. They're really not cheap. I mean, they're not. I can be honest about it. Even if you're doing the bare minimum, you're still spending quite a bit of money. Yeah. So you've got the financial commitment and the time commitment. So that's the other reason so many people dump a dog. And, whether it's not even the medicated baths, it's the, taking them out or getting them on a walk or whatever that might be. And I think what a lot of people misunderstand is that dog would rather sit in a room and wait for you to get home for work for 8-9 hours versus sit in a shelter where it's loud, it's crowded, it's chaotic. And so a financial barrier is one thing. So I feel like, if you know you don't have the money, maybe it's not for you. Maybe now's not the time. Maybe you foster, you foster a dog, you really get to see that experience, get a good rescue that you can foster from so they cover the bills. But if it's a time commitment holding you back, I think, people need to analyze that. Is it truly a time commitment? Because you and I both work full time. And I think we both try to do a good job of letting our dogs out, whether that sometimes means a dog walker, a pet sitter, rearranging our schedule. Hey guys, I've got to go home after this dinner or after this lunch to let my dogs out. And so with the babs and stuff, I mean, was that a bigger time commitment than you anticipated?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of actually isolation to begin with because of his mange. He really couldn't be around other dogs because it's contagious. And he looked horrible.
Yeah.
He stunk. I mean, I was not inviting anybody over to my house to see my new dog.
Right.
So yeah, I was definitely very invested in that dog for sure. And because he lived outside for his whole life, basically, as soon as I would take him out, I mean, just he couldn't hold his bladder. He didn't know that he needed to. So it was like a race to get outside every single time. And, when they're in their crate, usually they're pretty good. They'll lay down a lot of times. But time for sure is a huge commitment for these dogs. But there's resources out there. My dog trainer, after I sent Huckleberry to training, I would meet her at my work. She would meet me and she would take the dogs for the day. And it was like a doggy daycare, and they'd run and play. And then she'd meet me back and I'd pick them up, and I knew that they had a good day. I did that twice a week for them, to get exercise and for me to not feel so stressed out about the time. Because at the time I worked far from home, and it was a long time that they would sit at home. But neighbors, doggy daycares, it's just once a week.
Right.
That gives you a break. And a lot of times it can be affordable. You can find an affordable $35, $40 a day. That's once a week or maybe once every other week. Make it work for you. Yeah.
You talked about training. So did you get both dogs in training, and how soon after you adopted them or rescued them did you start training?
So with Huckleberry, like I said, he was pretty mild when I first got him because he was sick. And then he started feeling better. And that's when he started getting, more antsy. And I was gone long parts of the day. So basically, once I got totally stressed out and realized, okay, this dog needs to go somewhere, is when I reached out. And I had a friend who recommended her trainer to me. And I did end up going with Cassidy from the Inked Canine. She was very flexible, and I sent Huckleberry. So I think it was about probably 3 months after I got him, 3 or 4 months around there. And she took him for the 3-week board and train. So I had the 3-week break, which was nice. And once he went to training, I got Romi after that. Romi, like I said, has been a very good dog. He really didn't need a lot of training, and I did get the e-collar for him. I already had one for Huckleberry, and he just kind of took after Huckleberry. So I used the tools that I learned with Cassidy and just applied them to Romi, and they both have been really good since then. So
I think it's helpful you mentioned that as well. So you used a balance trainer who used a tool like an e-collar.
Yep.
And so she taught you how to properly use it, which is another thing you see a lot of people either they're uneducated on it. And so they're like, I'm not using that. It's a shock collar. It's not. It's a tool that can be utilized appropriately. So they'll use it inappropriately, or they, have that stigma. And so I think anytime you're using a new tool, and we'll call it a tool, it's helpful to work with a trainer. So whether that's a prong collar, an e-collar, even like a slip lead where you're giving corrections on a slip lead, having a trainer to teach you how to use that. And that's exactly what you did. We did the same thing. So we had one dog go to a board and train, and kind of in the background, our trainer, Ryan from Lucky 7 Canine, she helped us with one of our other dogs. And so, and their training was different, right? So she was like, all right, for this one, you're doing this one, you're doing this. The board and train was great for us. It was 6 to 8 weeks, just because we had such an anxious dog, and he would just kind of like shut down, and just like wouldn't retain things the same way. Like if he got out in public, it was like he knew nothing. She kept him a little bit longer. Again, she was a flexible trainer, a communicative trainer. And so that kind of helped us with another dog. And so now I'm using her again. But investing in training, I think, is huge for whether you get your dog from a breeder, from a rescue, from a shelter, you find them on the street, there's going to be some kind of training, whether that's potty training, obedience training. And so did you have to potty train both of your dogs?
Well, Romy, actually, he had like 2 accidents in the house.
Oh, wow.
And then he never had one again.
Wow.
So I was so lucky with him.
Yeah.
You know, that's why I was just shocked that he was even out on the street, because I'm like, he's such a good dog. I don't know. I mean, unless it was a financial reason.
Right.
Maybe that's what it was. But with Huckleberry, yes. I mean, he, even probably a year after I got him, he would still sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
He's just a different type of dog. He lived on the street. So he's very sassy and street savvy. And, you know, the other one is just more timid. And so it's like, once you kind of holler at them one time to be like, no, sir, he's, you know, very scared after that.
Yeah.
So I really didn't have to do much training with Romy.
That's nice.
But Huckleberry for sure.
Yeah.
And training is, I mean, I did the board and train, and you did the board and train, but there's other options. They can come to your house and just do a day train for a couple hours, you know, if that's more affordable for you.
Right.
And you just hone in on those couple issues that your dog's having, and you just work through them slowly.
Right.
There's also the internet. There's resources out there that can help you, guide you a little bit too. I'm not saying totally rely on Google, but there's stuff out there.
Right.
And absolutely, I use the pound collars and the e-collars, and it's helped me tremendously, because my dogs are big. So if they want to pull, they're going somewhere, and I'm going with them. You know?
Right.
So, and I don't want to be that lady, but you know, that happens. And I see that a lot. People are like, oh, the dog's just too big. I even see ladies in my neighborhood, and they avoid walking by people because their dog pulls. And I want to go up to them and just say, hey, like, there's some tools out there that you can use, but I don't want to overstep my boundaries. But they're absolutely training, the collars, find your resources and use them.
And even having said all of that, I've used trainers. I work on it a lot, but one of my dogs is still, I'm going to say he's not quite potty trained. We still have accidents in the house, probably 2-3 times a week. Could I fix it? Probably. I've kind of set a line in the sand of here's what I'm doing. Here's what I probably won't do. And so I'm kind of honest with myself about that. So I could keep him tethered to me all day. And I'm sure if I did that for 2 to 4 weeks to where he did not have an opportunity to have an accident, I could fix it. This might be me admitting that I'm being lazy or not committed to it. But that's just the truth. And I think people need to know there are certain behaviors that might not get trained out whenever you're doing training, or, you know, we talk about the 3-3-3 rule, the 3-day, 3-week, 3-month. And the people think 3 months, they're like, okay, the dog should be good to go. The dog should be, no, depending on the dog, depending on what they went through, their abuse or whatever it might be, their personality, it could be much longer than that. Like for Odin, it probably took him 6 months to feel at home, not the 3, probably the 6.
Yeah.
And then even now, I mean, he's still like scared and skittish of people. And we're 2 years deep working through socialization and different things. And so that's another thing for people to maybe consider when they're getting a dog is if there's certain behaviors or things you don't want to see, there's no promise that a dog won't do that, you know?
Yeah. I think the best thing to know is that you just learn how to manage it. How to deal with it.
Yeah.
Because they are rescue dogs.
Yeah.
So you don't know, a lot of times you don't know what they came from.
Right.
You don't know everything about all the breeds that they have in them. You guess, you work with it, you try your best, but for sure, no doubt, 6 months minimum.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
You know, I can speak for that with my dogs. And for me, like it takes me 6 months to settle in and figure out their routine.
Right.
And know, okay, when do they need to go and what are we dealing with here? But yeah, even with Huckleberry, for sure. Still a year or 2 in.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had him for 2 years now. He's pretty good. He's pretty good, but he still will have his little moments.
Right.
And those will probably never go away, but, I'm not going to give up on him. I'm not going to get rid of him because of that.
Yeah.
He's still a good dog, and he's come millions of miles from when I got him. So you just learn to manage those things with them.
Yeah. So, and we're going to get to the good stuff because I know this sounds negative, but it's just the reality. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But while we're kind of on this, what for both of them has been the hardest challenge?
I mean, with Huck, just, I don't know if there's like one specific thing, but it was just the whole, because he was a street dog. It's like, okay, how do I take this dog that's wild, I mean, truly wild,
Right.
and bring him into my home and make him realize that he's now a home dog. Like I said, climbing all over everything. He'd be up on this table, and he's just like, cool, this is a jungle gym in here.
Yeah.
And yeah, for a long time, like I said, he would anything on the ground. You know, and I'm a hawk on my dogs. I don't have anything in the house that they can get into. You know, everything's up, tails. I'm very, you know, dog friendly in the house.
Right.
But outside,
yeah,
I mean, he would get anything. I'm like, is this dog gonna, you know, what's gonna happen here? Am I gonna cut rocks out of his stomach? But
Odin ate rocks too, so I get it.
yeah, it's scary. I was like, oh my gosh, Lord, okay, let's just watch him for, you know, 5 days and see if he's alive still.
Right.
So I think that probably, and the mange really just, it was a struggle. He does not like baths at all. He's 80 pounds. So fighting with him in the baths all the time. And yeah, he just, like I said, he peed a lot. You know, the reality is, the day I picked him up, he peed in my truck. And I was like, cool. Sounds good. Yeah. Here we go. So, and then Romi, I think it was just the biggest challenge with him. He's been a very good dog, but the 9 days of waiting time, I think it's 9 days that they say once you have the dog you found.
Oh, the stray hold.
Yeah, the stray hold. I think it's 9 days if I remember correctly. That waiting period.
Yeah.
So I was like, are these people coming for their dog? Like, I do not need another dog.
Yeah.
You know? And just days of me being standoffish with him. Nope. That's not my dog. You have a home somewhere. And yeah, after, like I said, 3 or 4 days, I was pretty sure. I was like, yeah, I don't see them coming. And so then it was just more like, okay, now we have another dog.
Right.
And I had just taken Huckleberry out of his crate because I purchased the big crate to begin with because I knew my dogs were going to be bigger. And they have the divider. So if you need to use the divider to make it smaller for them, you can do that. And you can take the divider out, which I recommend. I didn't really have a ton of space in my place, but I need space.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want to go through the, you know, buy this crate. Oh, you know, get the next one.
Right.
I'd rather just get a big one and be done with it, and made space for it. But yeah, I wanted my space back, and I was just getting to the point where Huckleberry was getting out of his crate, and then Romi came. I was like, okay, here's another year of a crate in the living room, but it's fine. So yeah, I would say those were my biggest struggles.
And what was the easiest or like most, maybe even like most surprising for both of them?
I mean, the easiest was loving them. I knew from when I saw them, they were just, Romi, I wasn't sure that he was my dog, but I knew I loved him right away. I was like, you want some cheeseburger? Surprising, I think with Romi, I was shocked at how good he was. Like I said, really only 2 accidents. Very mild mannered, not a barker. Just listened. I don't know how, but he did. And then with Huckleberry, most surprising, I guess just his transformation. Because when I got him and he really started to get out of his comfort zone, I cried a lot.
Yeah.
At night.
Yeah. It's like, what have I done? How can I keep going? Will this get better?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was totally stressed. I really was. I called Cassidy in a panic. I was like, I need help. Okay. And she's like, I got you. I was like, thank you so much. But now people are like, what? That's the same dog? I'm like, yeah, isn't that crazy? I didn't have to get him surgery. So far, I haven't had to. Like I said, I got him on some joint stuff, and he walks a lot better now. So, but I thought for sure at one point he was going to have surgery. And, you know, that's a few $1,000s. So
oh, yeah.
I was like, okay, let's see if I can avoid this.
Right.
You know, and him still have a quality of life. And he does. So I'm happy about that.
I think it's nice to hear your perspective because you had one pretty easy dog and you had one pretty difficult dog. And I just think that's the nature of all dogs, not even just rescue dogs, like even dogs from breeders. You have people who they could even get from the same litter, and one of you gets a crazy dog that you can't control that has all these different things, traits. And then you get another dog and you're like, wow, this dog's perfect. This dog's easy to train. And so it's nice to hear that there's different realms of rescue dogs, if you will. You know what I mean? I mean, I think the perception so often is the dog's in the shelter, the dog's broken, or the dog is not a good dog. And it's like, I'd say 90% of the time, it's just the humans failed that dog. You know, whatever it was, they dropped them, they abandoned them, they had another group of dogs that had babies and they just dumped all the puppies or whatever it might be. But most of the time, the dogs are in the shelter because of humans. It's not because of the dog.
Right.
So I think, you know, what we're seeing right now with so many people dumping their dogs, and you and I talked about this earlier too, the bad dogs that are in the shelter, they're bad because of the humans.
Right.
So it's like, well, I never trained them and now they're pulling me down, or I never trained them and now they bite, or, you know, they got out of the fence and they bit someone. So all these like preventable human measures,
Yes.
it's usually our fault.
Yeah.
And even our dogs, once we've had them for a while, their little outbursts or like their traits or things they do wrong, it's usually us.
Yeah.
You know, we've been inconsistent in how we have handled them, how we've trained them. We don't always give them the same cue. You know, for me, sometimes I let my dogs bark, sometimes I don't. That's on me. My dogs bark because of me. I could have eliminated that forever ago, and I let that behavior continue.
Yeah.
It's my fault. So it's like when people are like, oh, well, my dog barks. And it's like, oh, like, did they just start? And they're like, no, they always have. I'm just annoyed now. Or, you know, I have a baby now and my dog barks.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, well, that's on you,
Right.
you know? So I'm not blaming anyone, but I'm blaming someone.
Yeah.
You know, I just think we have a lot of accountability we need to take. And it's our responsibility to care for these dogs. And any of our failures, if why they would end up in the shelter, that's just on us.
Yeah. I mean, the structure is important. And that's what people don't realize. They think their household is good the way it is and their dog's going to come in and just fit right in.
Right.
No, your whole household is going to change.
Yes.
Everybody,
Mm-hmm.
including your children, including your husband, including your guests that come over.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you have to be clear with people. Hey, my dog likes to jump. So when you come in, don't pet.
Right.
You know, you have to come up with your boundaries and your structure in your home so that you can make it functional.
Mm-hmm.
And the dog knows what to expect.
Yeah.
Because when the dog is kind of in chaos and you're in chaos and everybody's stressed out, nothing's going to go well.
Right.
And that's usually what happens is people get a dog and then their dog pulls, or their dog nipped at somebody, or their dog barks and jumps and whatever the problem is. And they're like, I can't keep this dog. Or like you said, they have a baby or they have another dog. Oh, my dog doesn't get along with that dog. No, the
Right.
dog doesn't decide.
Right.
You're the parent. You create the structure in the home.
Mm-hmm.
And if it means getting a trainer, if it means structuring your house a different way,
Right.
that's fine. But that's not a reason to get rid of a dog.
Right.
You know, you committed to something, and you giving the dog away to another home or to a shelter, the dog's going to go there with the same problems. And now there's going to be new problems.
Right.
Because they're in a new place.
Mm-hmm.
What's going on? Where'd my family go? I'm, in this new spot, and there's a new dog, or there's a new human. And now the problem's just bigger.
Yeah. It's just going to perpetuate and be this big cycle.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
that's what stresses me out the most, I think, when I see people saying that they want to get rid of their dog because of something like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, the dog's not going to magically be better in a new
Right.
home. It's
Right.
going to get worse.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not right for you to put that on somebody else either. The right thing to do is for you to take responsibility and figure out, how can I fix this?
Yeah.
And then you have to follow through.
Yeah.
Because I see a lot of people do that. They say, oh, my dog does this. And I'm like, okay, well, these are some tips and tools that I've been able to use.
Right.
Oh yeah, they don't actually follow through.
Yeah.
So the follow through is important because they're wild animals. I mean, they may have lived on the streets, whatever their experience was in their past life. They're animals.
Mm-hmm.
They're just like if you adopted a child.
Yeah.
they are your children. So you have to create the structure and boundaries.
Yeah. What are your 3 key pieces of advice or takeaways for anyone listening, whether they want to rescue, maybe they just want to foster, maybe they have a rescue dog, they're feeling a little bit defeated. Like, what's like 3 tips you could leave people with?
Yeah, I would say for sure, don't give up, because like we just mentioned, you giving up means the dog's going back to the shelter, or maybe they're going into another home, and those problems are going to persist or get worse. So don't give up on the dog, because the dog needs you.
Yeah.
You know, that's why you rescued them or fostered them in the first place. And I would say be patient.
Yeah.
Like we said, at least 6 months.
Yeah.
Bare minimum 6 months.
A lot of patience.
Yeah. So it's like they think maybe, oh, it's been a week, they're going to be, no. No. And like I said before, when I found him in the shelter, I went in there, all the other dogs were barking. He was sleeping quietly. Like I walked by, I looked at him. He just looked
a little angel.
Yeah. Quiet. You know, then he comes home and everyone's like, oh my God, your dog's crazy. It's like, yeah, I know. But you would not have thought that. You know, it could be the opposite, or it could be that way.
Yeah.
So you have to be patient and learn that maybe 6 months down the road, a lot of the issues that were originally there, maybe those are better, but there might be a new one.
Yeah.
You know, they go through periods of different things.
Yeah.
So you can't expect that in 6 months or in 3 months that everything's going to be hunky-dory. It's not.
Right.
So definitely patience. And then again, use your tools and resources. So the prong collar, the e-collar, the trainer, your friends that have dogs, whatever you can find out there to not give up on the dog. You know, figure it out. I know, trust me, I felt stressed out. I was crying at nighttime. I'm like, oh my gosh, this dog is a lot. I don't know what to do.
Right.
You know, and I had a trainer for my previous dog who was a 140-pound bulldog. And he had behavior issues too. So I learned stuff from that trainer, but that was a while back. And they have different issues. So, you know, if you had a trainer in your life, yes, that's great. But you probably need one for your dog, your specific dog. Because they're going to have different issues and different things that they respond to. Yeah. So, yeah, I would say don't give up on them. Be patient and use your resources.
Well, Fawn, thank you for coming on, and thank you for rescuing 2 dogs that probably would have got overlooked. So you're doing the hard work.
And thank you for having this podcast and for all your beautiful dogs and sharing all your knowledge and wealth with the world.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you for tuning in to the Canine Culture Podcast. Please make sure you subscribe to the Canine Culture Podcast on your favorite podcast platform, and make sure you're following us on social media. If you have any recommendations, any topics that you'd like to hear, if you know of any guests that would be good for the show, or if you yourself want to be a guest, please reach out to us. Send us an email at canineculturepodcast@gmail.com, or send us a direct message on social media. Thank you for listening, and please share this with any of your dog-loving friends.